What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Timeless Movie Podcast, episode number 31. My name is Victor Vasquez. Appreciate everybody coming back and listening. If this is your first time coming into the podcast, welcome. In this podcast, really what we try to talk about is recent movies that I may have checked out either in a streaming service or at the movie theater, and just try to give my review as to what I thought about the movie, maybe some pros and cons, some questions or reasons why I wanted to watch it, some of my favorite moments of the movie, and then at the end determine, is this a movie that I would try to rewatch down the road, right? A couple of years later, can I see myself, popping this into a Blu-ray disc if I end up owning it, watching it on a streaming service? What are those movies that I can just rewatch over and over again just because they just provide some type of comfort for me? So that's really what we try to do here. And on today's episode, we're going to be covering Dragon Ball Super Superhero. That is right. I think this is our first animation movie of 2022 that I'm reviewing. So I'm probably wrong on that, but that's what we're reviewing today. It was supposed to be Bullet Train. I think the last episode I probably called out that was going to be my next review. Didn't get a chance to do it just because I got a little bit busy with work, but no worries. We'll probably cover that at a later time. Let's focus today on Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Such a long name, a very confusing name. But anyway, I wanted to cover some of the details as to why I wanted to watch this movie and some of the questions that I had before watching it. So let's go ahead and jump into the first segment and jump into what were some of the reasons why I wanted to watch this movie. Just to kind of give you guys the background on it, I've been a fan of the Dragon Ball Super, or really Dragon Ball Z series, since I was a little kid. First time actually watching it was on, if anybody's local to Los Angeles, we had Channel 22. They used to show a lot of different types of Spanish shows, and one of them was Dragon Ball Z. And so I really grew up on watching it in Spanish. My mom would let us watch it. Me and my brother, we fell in love with Goku and Vegeta. Goku became my favorite character, and so all this different stuff, And so as a kid, I've always had a great connection to the series. Always enjoyed watching it. Always really enjoyed the aspect of being able to power up to another level. It's just something that, you kind of see in different types of either movies or animation as well. But this is really my first taste of that. We got to experience, Goku going into Super Saiyan, going into another level. And it was so awesome to see as a kid. And, as I grew up, I still have that same kind of love. Not as much as when I was a kid, but I still have that, sense of that joy of watching these crazy fight scenes, these action taking place in animation, and just having it look super cool and super smooth as well. So that's really one of the predominant factors as to why I wanted to go check out Dragon Ball Superhero. One, other than it being a movie in the theaters, but also because of the love that I've had since I was a kid regarding the Dragon Ball series. Another item that I wanted to call out was my interest in regards to where the story would take place. We've seen a lot of different sagas from really from a show perspective when Dragon Ball Z used to air maybe on Cartoon Network, right? You see the Frieza saga, you'd see the Cell saga, you'd see the Majin Buu saga. And so I really wanted to understand where this story take place. I actually, surprisingly, from one of the first movies, I actually have not seen any trailers for it. So I'm really kind of coming in blind, not knowing other than Piccolo and Gohan being on the poster of the film. That's basically all I know. And so I really was curious when this story would take place. Would it be kind of like an alternate timeline? Just not sure, but I was still excited to see how this story would kind of unfold and where it kind of fits in the entire Dragon Ball Z universe. Last but not least, I did want to point out, and I think something I just mentioned was, would Gohan and Piccolo actually stay as the main heroes in the film? So I just mentioned to you guys I hadn't seen any of the trailers. So my assumption is that, I see Gohan and Piccolo on the posters. I still see Goku and Vegeta being highlighted. So, will it be Gohan and Piccolo kind of just going through their story, and then at the end, Goku and Vegeta saving the day? Will it be Gohan and Piccolo really being the heroes and being the ones that kind of stop the villain from their specific schemes that they might be running? Whatever it might be, that was really my biggest question, is who is really going to be the hero in these stories? It's, predominantly in all the different types of either cartoon series or the movies that have also come out. I believe there was Dragon Ball Super Broly, which is another film. That one, again, was really focused on Goku, Vegeta, and Broly together. So really trying to understand, would Goku and Vegeta be kind of pulled in again and have them be the heroes? Or would they just kind of flip the script and have somebody else be the main protagonist in the movie? All right, everybody. Those are my, again, thoughts, initial kind of comments that I was kind of contemplating before watching the movie. Now I think it's a good opportunity to jump into what were my initial thoughts after seeing it. So let's go ahead and jump into that, as I went to go see it last Tuesday with my brother. Again, my brother, also a big Dragon Ball series fan, really. And we both kind of had the same kind of thoughts after we got out of the movie. It was a really cool movie. It was really fun. We enjoyed it a lot. Just to kind of give you guys a quick synopsis of it, it revolves around the Red Ribbon Army making a comeback. They end up hiring this evil genius, I guess you would say, Dr. Hito. He's actually the grandson of Dr. Giro, the mastermind behind the androids and who created Cell. And so Dr. Hito wants to build the perfect android. He feels like he has the intellect and the technology, really, to build something that can be used for good, right? As a superhero, which is where the title of this movie gets it from. But just for fun, he actually is not doing it for money or for anything else. He just wants to make the elite superhero that can help the world. Well, in this case, the Red Ribbon Army is led by this man named Magenta. He's really like their CEO, and he convinces Dr. Hito that the Capsule Corporation are really the true bad guys, and they are hiding the truth about these aliens that are flying around Earth, which, to us as Dragon Ball series fans, we know that they are not aliens. They are just Saiyans, which are Goku and Vegeta. But what he does is basically Magenta convinces Dr. Hito that he needs to create these different types of androids in order to become heroes and save the Earth. And so what does he do? He ends up building these two perfect androids called Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. However, Piccolo is able to find out what the Red Ribbon Army is up to and what their schemes are. And again, it's up to him really to try to find the right people to stop them. Now we end up finding out in the story that Goku and Vegeta are actually off planet. They're actually over there training with Barris. And so they're not actually in Earth able to help them. And that's really the predominant piece of this whole story, is that, the typical heroes that we always rely on, Goku and Vegeta, are not here for this battle. So what the heck is going to happen? And so that's where the challenge comes in for Piccolo. He now has to try to convince Gohan to defend Earth regarding this new threat. Why does he need to convince Gohan? Well, as you get to know and see in the story, now that he's kind of had his own child in his daughter Pan, he's also studying and researching different things that he's interested in. And so he's really almost retired from training as he used to do before with Piccolo. But Piccolo ends up doing these unorthodox methods of trying to convince him to get back into training. And so he has to, again, develop a good way to get him back into the game in order to start fighting and protect Earth from Gamma 1 or Gamma 2 as well. I won't go into the method of what he did in regards to convincing him and what the results were, but it was good to see Gohan show off the potential of him being one of the strongest Saiyans in the universe of Dragon Ball Z. Now, again, I just wanted to cover a very overall synopsis. That's really what the entire story is about. Now I kind of want to cover some of my pros and cons after watching the movie. I'll start off with the pros. The animation was freaking beautiful. There were some crazy fight scenes that showed off some awesome images. And again, it just really showed how far the series has come. When it used to air on TV, the animation, again, for those times, was still pretty good. You could follow the action. It all looked super smooth. You could see that, again, all the images that were drawn were just perfectly pinpointed for those moments. But in this film, it just kind of shows what that animation now looks like, elevated to another level. And so it was so cool to see, again, all those awesome fight scenes. Every time somebody powers up and you hear the sound, it just brings back those awesome memories when I was a kid. Another point that I really liked about the movie was the first 10 minutes of the actual film, explaining who the Red Ribbon Army was, just in case you forgot, why they hired Dr. Hito, and again, what were their plans as the true bad guys of the movie. Again, I thought it was just a great job to kind of portray, hey, like this is what you've missed out on, or here's what you need to know. And in those 10 minutes, they perfectly explain this is everything that can kind of catch you up on where you are now in the story. And I think that was really a smart move. That way you can kind of, again, if somebody like me that hasn't really been too much into the Dragon Ball series since I was a little kid, it was really good to kind of see, again, hey, here's the Red Ribbon Army. This is maybe where you have probably seen them in the past of these different sagas as well. Last but not least, one of my favorite pros in this film was they actually made a story where Goku and Vegeta were not the heroes. As much as I love Goku and Vegeta, again, Goku is my favorite character, it's forced us to kind of accept and see a spotlight being shown on Piccolo and Gohan and how they were able to save Earth with the help of some of their familiar friends that we've seen in the series. But again, it was a great job by the I guess, the directors and the writers of the specific Dragon Ball Super superhero movie, just to again move and shift to a different direction and highlight, yes, I know that we have these legendary warriors in Goku and Vegeta, but we cannot forget about those other supporting characters that can also be heroes on their own, like Piccolo and Gohan as well. So that was one of the awesome moments, and I like that it just kind of stuck the landing in regards to these two having the potential to really still save Earth even without Goku and Vegeta. I'm going to jump into my one con. I don't have too many because I really did enjoy the movie, but I will say that this is pretty much a big con of the entire film, and that's the movie just kind of, has very consistent tropes as other Dragon Ball either series or movies. What do I mean by that? Well, think of it this way. Every saga or every movie that has been shown for Dragon Ball, a villain comes along. He's too strong for the heroes initially until one or maybe two Saiyans are able to power up to a new level to defeat them. How do they power up? Well, sometimes they have to go through some emotional trauma in order to kind of push them to a new limit. Does that sound familiar for any Dragon Ball Z fans? Well, that's basically the story of a lot of the different sagas, and this movie was no different. Again, that's really my only con. Was hoping that they would kind of push, again, not only do they push the story in a way that you don't really need Goku and Vegeta in this story, we can handle it with Piccolo and Gohan, but I was also hoping that we can kind of shift to a different type of, a different story element rather than the same kind of, hey, a villain comes, we need to stop him, we can't, all right, somebody needs to really either see some type of an emotional traumatic moment, somebody passing away or somebody being hurt, and then them really powering up to another level. It just kind of seemed like the same things over and over again. And again, that's really my only nitpick. Everything else was really good. I like the voice actors who portrayed the characters. The story itself made sense. Again, it all connected. It feels like we've been here before. And whenever it kind of feels like that, it just kind of reduces my excitement of it, because then it's like, well, I could have predicted that, right? So again, that's my only nitpick. That's my only con. It didn't take too much away from me from watching the film, but I understand why it's like that. Again, that's really the essential string that makes the Dragon Ball series work, right? Is having these heroes that can power up and get to new levels if they continue to work hard. And so I completely understand that, but again, it just felt so familiar that it didn't really kind of blow me away as I was hoping it could have as well. Other than that, I thought this movie was a good time. Again, I would recommend any Dragon Ball fan to go out and watch it, especially, again, if your favorite characters are, other than Goku and Vegeta, if you really love Piccolo or if you really love Gohan, I would definitely push you guys to go watch this movie as well. All right, everybody. Now that we kind of discussed some of my detailed thoughts about the overall experience of watching it, now I want to jump into a couple of more specific areas. One of them is what my favorite performance was in the film. Now, this is a little bit different considering that this is an animated film. Typically most of the movies that I review are, again, live action. And so it's a little easier to kind of see and be able to explain, hey, this actor was my favorite performer because, his facial expressions or, the way that he was kind of working in the chemistry with other characters. Here, for an animation, though, you're really relying on the voice actor to portray different tones and see, hey, how can this kind of just change the entire way that you look at this character? But lucky for me, there was one performance that was just really good in Dragon Ball Super Superhero, and that was Piccolo. Voiced by Christopher Sabat. Piccolo was really the true protagonist in this film. I believe he had the most screen time of any character, and he was really, again, the centerpiece of the story. He was really the one that figured out who the Red Ribbon Army was, why they were coming back, what their plan was to destroy the Capsule Corporation, and really what they were planning after they destroyed the Capsule Corporation. He also had to be the one that brought folks together in order to stop the Red Ribbon Army from accomplishing their objectives. all I can say is Christopher Sabat killed it. He had so much room to play with Piccolo, who, again, predominantly in the series of Dragon Ball, is a serious character. But in this film, he was not only serious, but he was funny. He had a bunch of one-liners that just hit the mark. And overall also had really good tones in regards to leadership, because he had to convince Gohan of being able to take on this new threat, but also to reach another level as well. Not going to spoil anything about who reaches what level, but it was awesome to see Christopher Sabat just kind of portray Piccolo in this kind of fashion. And again, he did it in a way that made me more of a fan of Piccolo. Like, this film made me like, you know what? Piccolo is an awesome character. And so if I ever do watch the other sagas again, I'll try to pinpoint and focus more on Piccolo, because again, he just did such a great job for this character in this film as well. So great job, Christopher. I look forward to the next time that you voice Piccolo in the Dragon Ball series as well. All right, now I want to move forward to my favorite scene or my favorite moment of the movie. And in order to do that, I do need to go into a little bit of spoiler territory. So again, if anybody has not seen Dragon Ball Super Superhero, please feel free to go ahead and jump a couple minutes ahead, or if you want to like the video and leave so that it can be added to your favorites, you can, and then come back when you do watch it. But again, just throwing out the spoiler warning for anybody that has not seen the movie. Okay, jumping into it now, spoiler warning. My favorite scene happens actually at the end of the second act, which is when Gohan now enters the fight against the Red Ribbon Army. He's trying to save his daughter Pan, who was kidnapped by the Red Ribbon Army. They try to lay a trap out for him in order to force Gohan to come in, and that way they can take him out. What they didn't realize is that Piccolo actually disguises himself as a Red Ribbon soldier, and he purposely takes Pan along with his plan, really. He describes to her, like, hey, here's the plan. I'm trying to get your dad back into the fight. Let's see what he can do. And obviously Pan, also trying to be a Saiyan just like her dad, goes along with his plan. And so that ends up motivating Gohan to just stop studying, and he ends up joining the fight. And once he arrives at the Red Ribbon City, he ends up facing off against Gamma 1, which is the android created by Dr. Hito. This is where, again, I was blown away by the animation as Gohan proceeds to fight Gamma 1 in the rain, and it just looks gorgeous, man. There's one scene where Gohan powers up and the screen just slows down and you can see every raindrop in the picture, and then it proceeds to speed up as Gohan engages in combat against Gamma 1. There's another scene where they just kind of butt heads and they're just kind of trying to show their might to each other, and again, it just looks so clean, it looks so crisp, and it's just it was an amazing kind of sequence that they showed there. I got really bummed out when I found out that the rain was actually just being simulated in the Red Ribbon City in the film. But again, I would have loved to see the entire main fight just take place in the rain. Now, I'm not a Dragon Ball expert. I've seen most of the sagas, but I don't know like the entire lore and history of it. I don't believe there's ever been a predominant fight scene where it takes place in the rain, but I could be wrong. It would have been so cool if they just kind of kept that throughout the entire movie, because it just added to the visuals and the animation of those fight sequences as well. I really enjoyed the sequence for however long it was, and it just shows again how great animation can be for fight scenes like this. All right, everybody, now I'm going to go ahead into the next segment, which really talks a little bit about whether I would recommend this movie for a theater experience, or is it better to just wait for it on streaming. As much as I really enjoyed watching the movie, I actually don't recommend folks, or forcing them really to have to watch it in theaters. Yes, the animation is amazing, and I think the story connects very well. But again, it has very familiar beats to it, like the other Dragon Ball series. And it's, again, pretty consistent with how other movies or series function. So I would actually wait until it's available on streaming. That way you guys can check it out and see, is the story really as good as you thought it would be? Are Gohan and Piccolo really the coolest characters in this movie? Did they make the right decision for not including Goku and Vegeta? All that different stuff. I also think that the theater experience didn't really add much to my viewing, other than a bigger screen, right? To just see things a little bit more clearly. But that's really about it. The surround sound didn't really have much of an impact while watching it. I was hoping that when they would power up or go to Super Saiyan, that it would just sound so incredibly loud. It didn't sound as loud as I was hoping. So again, that's just my personal opinion. Again, if you're a big Dragon Ball Z fan, definitely go out and check it out if you can't wait for streaming. But again, this is mostly for folks again that aren't big fans, just more of like a casual animation fan, I can definitely recommend that you can just kind of skip the theater and watch it once it's available for streaming. All right, everybody, we are in the last segment of the Timeless Movie Podcast, and here's where we're going to determine whether Dragon Ball Super or Superhero is a timeless movie. In my own opinion, I believe that this movie is not a timeless one. Although I really enjoyed animation, the fight scenes were incredible, the characters that they used throughout the story was awesome, I just don't feel like the story itself compels me to want to rewatch it again. I mentioned it a couple of times already, but it's just due to the story hitting the same kind of beats of previous Dragon Ball either sagas or different movies as well. There's nothing crazy that stands out to me. Again, this could be me getting older and having a different perspective on the franchise. Obviously as a kid, you really love anything that's action related. But now I'm kind of, as I grew up, obviously, I want a little bit more with those fight scenes, right? I want a little bit more of that story that can kind of tell me or give me a twist that completely takes me out of this, like, whoa, I was not expecting that. And again, I didn't really feel that when I was watching it. So that's probably a predominant reason as to why, again, I don't really have the need to rewatch it again. Now, if I did want to watch something Dragon Ball related, I would probably go a little bit more to the things that I started watching it with, more of the sagas, more of the shows. Or if I just wanted to see a shortened version of it, I can go on YouTube and just kind of pull up a couple of fight scenes. Once again, I'm not crapping on the movie. I still enjoyed it, and I do not regret watching it. It was an awesome time. But nothing, again, pops out thinking about this movie that it motivates me like, yeah, I need to watch this again. That's just, again, my own thoughts. I still really enjoyed Dragon Ball Superhero, but it's not something that I would consider timeless, that I would rewatch down the road as well. But, guys, those are my thoughts on what, I was kind of thinking through after I watched Dragon Ball Superhero. But what did you think? Did you enjoy the movie? Have you gotten a chance to go see it? And do you consider this a timeless movie? Well, if you want to answer any of those questions, well, feel free to put those down in the comments below. I really want to get your guys' thoughts and really interact with you guys and see, what did you think about Dragon Ball Superhero? All right, guys, that is all I really wanted to cover on Dragon Ball Superhero. I appreciate everybody coming back and listening to the podcast. My name has been Victor Vasquez. This has been episode number 31 of the Timeless Movie Podcast. Make sure to check out the next coming weeks as I do another movie review. I'm probably not going to call it out because I really don't know what next movie I'm going to be talking about. But if you are interested, make sure to go ahead and follow and subscribe to this page. That way you are always alerted of the new movie reviews that I will be doing. All right, guys, have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll talk to you later.